Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto. Hope you're all doing great. Let me quickly reset my camera because it doesn't look that sharp. But welcome back. Hope you're all doing great. Hope you're having a great week. Welcome to a new video on Solana. And this morning, we're seeing a bit of a dump in the markets. All right, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the situation for Solana right now. Today is probably going to be a very volatile day. Probably the next 2 days are going to be quite volatile. Solana itself, I would say, is still consolidating. If you look at the technical structure, I would say that's still fine. I think fundamentally we're also still fine. I mean, there's quite a lot of trading still going on Solana. Whether you like the meme coin and shitcoin narratives or not, with all the celebrity coins right now, well, it does matter, but it doesn't matter that much for Solana, because when in regards to Solana, it just means that the network is being used. But all right, so total value locked still up there. I would say that's fundamentally bullish. Now, this morning though, and what we're seeing is that altcoins are just suffering. Bitcoin has dropped down a little bit, and then over the same period of time, you can see the total 3. So the altcoin market is absolutely dropping. And what that means is that, well, Solana, like I said, I still think is consolidating. And this is Bitcoin. I still think it's consolidating, and I don't think this is the end of the world. Yesterday, we also talked about the possibility that we would actually drop down towards 160 and that we need to get momentum from there before we can actually get a breakout and rally back up to new highs. Which, cautiously, but I still do think that is most likely. Even though at this moment it's very hard to believe with the dumping from altcoins that we will actually see bullish momentum again. But I do still think that from this consolidation, because I do still think that Solana is consolidating, we're not really reacting to the EMAs. We have a very strong resistance at 172, 175, and then a strong support at 160 and 158. It looks very clear to me that this is a range which will be tough to break out of, all right? And then apart from that, since last week Friday, we've also just been bouncing around in that range. A little bit of a tighter range, but still. So I don't think that situation has changed for Solana, but what I do fear is that Solana against Bitcoin has unfortunately fallen again, which yesterday we talked about that Solana was actually gaining some strength again against Bitcoin right here. And that's great, right? Because then you can actually have a Solana breakout and rally without Bitcoin being very bullish. But with this being bearish and Bitcoin then also dropping down, that's just bad news. All right, now the fundamentals for Solana, I would say, are still relatively good. So maybe we can get something from that. That's a possibility. But in general, this chart is not good news. All right. So then we get to the most important question, and that's what do I expect? And I still expect the same. All right, so right now it looks quite likely that we're dropping down into that support level at 160 and 158. Let me adjust this real quick. So that looks likely, but I don't see any reason yet why we would drop down below that. All right, ultimately it depends on Bitcoin, but Bitcoin also has a massive support right here around 66K. So what I expect is that Solana drops down into that level. I expect a strong reaction, but I don't expect a rally at first. But then eventually what I expect is that we will rally back up to 174, stay in this consolidation, and eventually I still think a bullish breakout is most likely. Now, what I do want you to know though, is that when we drop down, all right, so when we drop down into that level between 160 and 158 or 157, if we do not gain momentum from there, so if the open interest does not start to increase relatively soon from that support level, then we have to start talking about a potential bearish breakout as well. Like I said, I don't think that's most likely, but you should be prepared. Like this level, I expect it to hold, but there are no guarantees in crypto, all right? So be careful, anything can happen. For now, this is what I expect. If you do have any questions, let me know down in the comments, of course. But for now, thank you for watching, take care, and bye.